sector. Indeed, there is a lot of activity that is ongoing. We have the drilling activities ongoing in the Tilenga and Kingfisher development area. A number of wells have been drilled. We have about 4 drilling rigs in the country, and all those have been mobilized to drill the many wells that we anticipate to put the oil on tap. So in terms of the East African crude oil pipeline, of course, again, a lot of work has been done in light of the preparations for commissioning of the ECO pipeline. We have a lot of contracts that have been awarded, right from pipeline fabrication in China to pipeline laying. The contract was awarded to the construction of the marine terminal and jetty, to thermal insulation, and I think, Chair, you saw recently launching of the thermal insulation plant in Sojo. We did that. 100 line kilometers of pipeline was delivered in December last year. Today we are at anywhere above 500 line kilometers of line pipe to be insulated, and the laying of that pipeline will commence. And we still continue to pursue the financing as well of the ECO pipeline, and we believe we should be resolving this on the debt side. And I want to appreciate, of course, government of Uganda and Parliament for giving us the equity of the $308 million US, which we've fully paid for ECOP. Chair, you asked about just the hot news. I'll refrain from the detailed 12 projects that UNOC is dealing with and just walk you through those that are making quite some good news. The recent being the conclusion of the signing of the tripartite agreement between Uganda, the government of Uganda, the government of Kenya, and the Uganda National Oil Company in light of importation of petroleum products. We signed that last week. And prior to that, we also got the license from Energy and Petroleum Regulatory Authority of Kenya. We are hopeful that we'll start bringing in the cargo towards the end of next month, which is what we've been committing to, but as well try as much as possible to open up the Tanzanian route to make the prices competitive and the volumes enough to satisfy the Ugandan market. Chair, on the refinery side, again, a lot of work is ongoing, negotiating with our partner, Alpha MBM, to discuss the implementation agreement, the crude supply agreement, and the shareholders agreement in light of the refinery project. And we are hopeful that we'll turn this around as quickly as possible so that the refinery project doesn't delay at all. So we are in such a phase where we have so many projects running, a lot of activity, a lot of national content. We've seen quite a number of Ugandans being deployed. I think today we stand anywhere above 8,000 Ugandans deployed across the projects, and that number is substantially going to grow. So that's what I can briefly highlight, Honorable Chair and members. But once again, I thank you so much for allowing us to interface with you today.
Again, I heard something about supply of crude. Are we going to get crude oil? Are we selling crude oil? Because I thought the refinery was going to do the refining so that we sell finished goods, value addition. So I just wanted some clarification in that.
Not for crude, it's for white petroleum products, because today, of course, as you know, Uganda imports petroleum products 100%, and the importation bill is anywhere in excess of $2 billion US. So our engagement in petroleum product supply is not starting today, because Uganda has been importing the petroleum products before. But as a national oil company, it's also an advantage for us to prepare ourselves for the products that will come from the refinery by starting off with imports. We started off with small volumes, but now the mandate is to be the sole importer of petroleum products so that we stabilize the market prices, make it competitive, but at the same time get some revenue so that we reduce the burden on the national treasury.
Mr. Chairman, I wasn't talking about the petroleum imports. What is worrying me is that we are going to have a refinery, but I heard you say supply of crude oil. So I'm imagining, are we going to be importing crude oil, or are we going to send out ours as crude oil?
We are not importing any crude. The crude that will be produced from the Tilenga and Kingfisher fields will be for two commercialization options: 60,000 barrels capacity going to the refinery, and the balance going to the international markets. So the only crude that is going to be exported is what is going to be produced from Tilenga and Kingfisher, minus the allocation to the refinery. The rest will go to the international market.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all I wanted.
When you look at activities at Tanga in Tanzania, their activities are slightly far ahead of us. And we thought this is a joint venture investment where they have to do it concurrently. What will happen if the Tanzanians finish their part on our side? Because our side, I've seen you are still on wrap, but Tanzania have visited that Tanga, that area. So what will happen, madam? Are we going to wait? The Tanzanians will wait for hours also until you reach that point? How are you managing to synchronize?
Thank you, Honorable Member, for asking the question. It's not entirely correct that Uganda is behind on the developments of ECOP. It's just that most of the infrastructure requirements for ECOP are happening in Tanzania. If you look at the jetty in Tanga, it's happening in Tanzania. The marine storage terminal is in Tanzania. The thermal insulation plant is in Tanzania. But what we've done for the laying of the pipes, we've allocated spreads or different units for personnel under the CPP contract, who is contracted to lay the pipes across the line pipe, and they are going to come from Tanzania at the same time come from Uganda. So it's not going to be starting off from Tanzania and then enter into Uganda. If you visited the fields at Pump Station 1, actually there is a main camp yard which is already commissioned for CPP, and that is also part of the East African Crude Oil Pipeline. We are still on track for First Oil 2025, and all works and optimization for the engineering works geared towards this last quarter of 2025.
Yes.
Thank you. The ED to confirm that she has two signatures, because the last time we were interfaced with the challenge of dealing with two signatures from you, and they told us that one is digital and they use it for digital purposes. Please confirm that. Probably next time we can handle it better. Secondly, I really thank you for stressing the participation of our people, where you've mentioned about 8,000 Ugandans involved in the different areas in the oil sector. Thank you so much for that, and if you're following on it. But can we move it a step higher, that whenever we're talking about the value of their participation? Otherwise, we can have 8,000 who are all casual workers. Can we step it a bit to say we have so many engineers, we have so many at managerial level, and we have so many participating in starting up oil-related product factories? So I really want to think that's how we can help the people of Uganda, other than just saying that we have so many involved, yet they might be at peripheral of the at this level of oil development. Thank you.
Related to the signature, Chair, like I said, again, I apologize for not having been here physically, but as UNOC, COVID taught us so many things. We needed to transact business. So we adopted DocuSign, which is a very authentic digital signature platform. Of course, it's not to say that it's not me who signed the document. Absolutely not. It's me. Because it's authentic, DocuSign gives you the ability to create a unique identifier for your signature. It's documentable, it's encrypted, and it can be audit traced. So there is no way, actually the best digital signatures are DocuSign because they are tamper proof. But I was informed that we could have done better and reverted to the normal signature, which I apologize for, and will continue doing what the honorable members want. Thank you, Chair, for that.
Just put it on record.
All my signatures.
Yes, so you
The
can lay
DocuSign?
one, the one that is
Okay.
natively signed. Now, those things of yours.
Chair, it has been submitted.
No, Mr. Chairman, also on the documents, this one, right? But here, the heading is draft management letter on the audit. The reference is draft management. Is
Chair,
this
we
what you
apologize for the omission. It's management letter.
It seems we are dealing with the wrong
Did
document.
you ask them to come with the management letter? No.
No, sir, I didn't.
Chair, that we integrated the responses within the findings of the Auditor
They were
General.
charitable.
This has not answered my question.
Of which one? Of
Chair-
the category. Can you write and
Chair,
give us so far the
The information, because the honorable member wants disaggregated data, we can work with the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, who has been issuing reports, comprehensive reports on national content.
strategic level is to ensure we have knowledge transfer.
Yes, Chair.
That in the long run, we are able to run to that. Honorable colleagues, because we have really a busy day, can we go to matters audit? 0.534 billion. So you had a budget of 1,554 billion, out of which 780.
The accounts.
On page 1.
Audit.
Of the draft, the one Honorable Mdimi was saying, which we have decided to work with. So I'm on the paragraph before the table.
Mr. Chairman, the audit report.
Yeah, but this is the public. Honorable colleagues, stick to this.
Those issues are not this report. Mine starts with.
Yeah, let's go back to the original audit report. Implementation of approved budget.
Even 1.0 is eco project implementation.
Chair, we need to synchronize our documents, I
Yes,
think.
they are not the same.
Yeah.
Synchronize them.
I'm being told the secretariat is getting.
I beg that the ECO people should amend this. If they are going to refer to this document,
To amend the record.
you have to amend yourself the record,
You yourself.
because if you are saying you are dealing with the draft management,
I need to speak to it and just countersign. Of course, it's not tied, but how long is it going to take? Can we proceed with
we can.
with the primary processing of things that out of which 758 investment in ECOP, it was 676
our accounts look like
billion.
these are accounts. But there are some-
Point 4. Investment in KST's what? Kampala Storage Terminal. You had a budget of 532. Bulk fuel trading and construction of oil, jet, and pipeline at JST. JST is what?
Ginger storage.
You had a budget of 72 billion, 200 million. You had infrastructure development for KIP. KIP is what? Kampala again?
Kabalega Industrial Park.
Ka?
Kabalega Industrial
Kabalega
Park.
Industrial Park. I think I jumped. The other one was 144. I'm sorry. Let me recall. The bulk oil trading, fuel trading and construction of oil, jet, and pipeline at JCT was 144 billion. Point 4. And infrastructure development at KIP was 72 billion. Your wage was 24.172 billion. I reviewed the approved budget by entity and noted the following. Revenue performance. Can we proceed? Revenue performance. $4.11. We have now the report, honorable colleagues.
Yeah, this one. We have
This one. They now have. Yeah, they've been brought.
the responses. We have the response.
The responses you have. So we are now on revenue performance. The company budgeted to collect I'm yet to be corrected. You budgeted to collect 6 trillion or 6 billion. 6.9 billion.
Yes, 989.
Yes, by end of the year. By end of the year, you had collected 37.
37.674.
Had been here. So you an over representing a performance over and above approved by 30. What was your source of revenue? You collected more than what you budgeted to collect.
We had anticipated to collect the 6.989 based on the 3 revenue streams of bulk trading, bid submission, and the fees we collect from Ginger Storage Terminal. But of course, we overshot that because of the treasury instruments. We utilized, we invested in treasury instruments out of the monies that were given for ECOP. In anticipation of the cash calls. So instead of holding the money on account, we invested in treasury instruments, and that created that 37.6 surplus. But I would like the CFO to expound further on this.
So you got money that you invested it in treasury instruments.
Yes.
And you generated revenue. Well, I'll seek opinion of members here.
Officer, but it raises so many questions. Normally, your expected revenue or expenditure should be close based on certain parameters to what you would get. I'm very sure if you knew how much money you are likely to get, and it could have been an idea with you that if you get this money, you should not hold it on account. You should use it to buy treasury bills so that it can earn some interest. And to me, you should have even anticipated how much, based on your expected income, how much you'd earn, because the rate of the treasury bills and the period would be known to you. So that instead of saying, no, when I got this money, I put in treasury bills and it earned this money, I never foresaw, right? And that's what brought this surge in terms of increase in revenue. To me, I think it is wrong. Why didn't you know earlier that this money you get, you will be reinvesting it instead of leaving it on account, so that you also account or estimate how much is likely to reach, so that the difference in your revenues is not as big as this.
Honorable Taba, what you need to explain, including to myself, because you are a little high agency, it's out to make money. And it makes decisions on how to optimize the resources and optimize revenue. And so we should not take the traditional way, because I was going to ask you traditional. Now you got money specifically to go and do ECOP. And in terms of budgeting, you are not even ready to spend that money. And because you are not spending that money, you decide to go and buy treasury bills, whatever you did, those for which money was appropriated.
No, but sir, actually my point is, yes, they got the money instead of. My question is, why did it come as abrupt? At the time of budgeting,
Yes.
why didn't you know you'll get this money, it will not be used, instead of holding it on account, we shall buy treasury. And you also estimate how much money it would generate when you buy treasury, so that it is also put in your expected revenue.
Chair, I want to understand, because once you get money from the consolidated fund, there must be some legal instruments you must have worked on to have allowed you use the money for purposes of profit making. Chair, the danger there is, it is more, if we encourage this and we say UNOC is not traditional, UNOC is for profit making, Chair, this is what is going to happen. That money to do a project will always be kept like that, because there is a profit, quicker profit that will be made on treasury bills and bonds. Do we have a legal background to that decision?
Exactly. That's why I was putting, you see, as I chair here, when you go to, that's why I wanted to know, in the traditional way of running a normal government agency, Honorable, where we appropriate money, I mean CEO, Chief Executive Officer, where we appropriate money is against activities and action plan, which are approved, over which we say you will expend this money this financial year. And that money is competed for elsewhere. We say now we will give it to you. Here you are, you realize you have no absorption at that time. You realize you could not put the money for exact purpose for which had been allocated. You say, okay, I will take it, buy an instrument. It will make quick buck to navigate us through how we appropriate money and how you now end up for that purpose. It made money, yes. Take us through that. Plus the legal steps you take to.
And at one point, the government collapsed the vote. Am I right? Because the argument was saying, no, this is a commercial company. It will be requiring cash calls at any point. That was the basis, right, madam? Now, when you invest money on treasury bonds or bills, whichever securities, and you have realized that part of the financing, the money you got from government, the government also borrowed through the same process. So you take us through and see whether whatever you are doing was gainful. government is also borrowing from domestic market using the same instrument. But again, you also, so really, we need to understand this.
And where he
money that was appropriated for UNOC's shareholding in ECOP. The way the company is structured, we have 4 shareholders. We have Total Energies at 62%. We have Tanzania Development Corporation at 15%. We have UNOC Uganda Limited at 8%, and UNOC at 15%. That's their 100% shareholding of
UNOC
ECOP.
is what? 15%.
15%.
And then the other 8 is what? Uganda what?
CNOC, China National Oil Corporation, offshore corporation. Now, that 100%, we formed a company called ECOP, East Africa Crude Oil Pipeline Company, with one purpose: to build and operate the East Africa Crude Oil Pipeline. When we took FID, that project was, I think, around about $5 billion, and it was to be financed by equity and debt. Our share, in terms of equity, was working out at $308 million. And then the balance of about 1.7 was to be paid by the other shareholders. Now, ECOP, then the shareholders, the 4 companies that I've referenced, approved a construction budget to construct and build the pipeline. Now, for us in UNOC, because our money to capitalize us comes from finance, we sent the estimated annual requirements for ECOP, for us to pay to ECOP. So every month, the company, ECOP, reaches out to its shareholders that send me money and I pay for the work for the following month. So we pay. But because you cannot sit and wait to be appropriated on a monthly basis, the Ministry of Finance released in advance money for one annual estimate. I think the first tranche was around $178 million. That money came to ECOP, to UNOC, in anticipation of cash calls that will come from ECOP, the company, that please send this money for the following month, and we pay contractors. So that money, when it sits on the account, it is idle on the account. So we went to our board that because the governing entity or unit in a company is the board, the shareholders appoint a board of directors, and then the board of directors works through the CEO and executive management. So we went to the board that we have cash on account. Can we fix it for short periods as we wait for the cash calls to come? If a cash call comes sooner than anticipated, we recall the money that is fixed. It stays on account. Instead of being idle, you earn interest on it. It's the same way that you can have credit or charge interest for all credit balances that you have on your account. So that is what we did, with approval of the UNOC board. This is where this money comes from. For us to keep money on account is not a prudent treasury operation. That is why we got this additional money. Should we have sat back and not earned this money? It's an option. But where we sit and where we sit as UNOC management and the board of UNOC, it was prudent for us to milk from this money whatever little that we could get for short periods of time. I hope this clarifies.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, we get clarity, but I raised two questions, and this is reference to what I had asked. Knew you'd be asked for your portion every month. So your portion will not be required at once in a year. And you also knew that if you ask for money, government would give you money at once. It will not be giving you monthly payments. Therefore, to be a good planner, at the time you decided to make a decision that when this money comes at once, we should not keep it on account. You would have computed how much it would generate for whichever option of investment. You would have at that time say, we shall get this money from government, but it will not be required to advance to ECOP at once. ECOP will be advancing or requesting their monthly requirements. Meanwhile, this money, instead of being held on account, let's plan to do this so that you would have computed how much you would gain from income generated by investment, so that you also include it in your budget. Because to me, to have budgeted 6 billion and you get 37 billion automatically indicates you are a bad planner.
I was vice chair of the Committee of Government Assurance for some time. And if there was time these people should be arrested, I can tell you, the question you should ask these people, how do you get 6 billion and you generate a profit of 30 billion? This is we need to know what kind of investment was that. Because, Mr. Chairman, UNOC, according to the memorandums they signed, they are supposed to help us stabilize the costs of fuel at the pump. But if you get such you should get all those agreements, Mr. Chairman. Total, as you have stated.
Can I bring you up to speed? It's important you are brought on to speed. The 37 is not on fuel. The money that they got an allocation of money.
6 billion.
No, they got an allocation of 676, not so, which is in terms of dollars 100 and something. Now, when they got that money, it was to finance their annual obligation under ECOP. And in order to finance it, those cash calls are drawn monthly. Okay, but government gave them one quantum and gave it all, and gave them the money. Don't disturb us. You are a critical investing arm. When as your cash calls come, please make your obligation, because there is a penalty on default. Okay, there's a penalty on what? On default. Now, what the company did, instead of sitting with this money, which will be called in December, but you have it in January, please put it in some security purchases. With security purchases generated revenue, which was like 37 billion. Now, 37 billion, but that's only, but they had budgeted to generate only 6. So does that now make your submission a little bit more aligned?
Yeah, but for me, what I want to know, because over and above. So what kind of investment was that?
No, the investment, because I'm bringing you back to speed, we have 1 hour. The
opinion, we should commend them. That is my opinion. Because I think that's what they decided. The passport involves very many partners. Yeah. It does. Yeah. And these are nations. And in their prudence, there was some lag here and there. So instead of staying idle, I think the question which I think should be answered by documentation was authorization. But here there is no loss made. I think they should be commended for that. But to me, it was a question of authorization of how they were using it. And also, to plan for it in the future to avoid this kind of snag.
Okay.
But in my, they need to be commended.
There are 2 issues here. Is your league company secretary around? Now, there are 2 issues. When you appropriated money, we appropriate it to the Ministry of Finance. When you appropriate money to Ministry of Finance, it is on approved activities. and outputs. You will do an output activity budgeting. Now, the activity here, or the output for which this money was allocated, specifically was ECOP.
You to actually estimate to collect 6 billion, but then you collect 37 billion. But however, Chair, since they made the disclosure, they could have kept quiet, would not have known.
Yeah.
But they made the disclosure. At least there is some,
Yes.
transparency and trying to show what they were able to get outside what they originally planned. So I think we would, yes, it looks abnormal, but let's move on. Let's appreciate them and move on. For the disclosure, at least.
Yeah, for the disclosure, they are commendable. And we've made so many entities that take similar decisions, but never disclose it as an earning. And it is eaten internally, and you can bribe off the auditors,
Mr. Chairman,
and they keep quiet about it. We applaud them for that. No doubt, that's fantastic, sound business decision making. The care we need to make as legislators is to navigate, even when you are making profit, how are you anchored in the law? Because as we are, and that one as legislators, we do oversight of the money spent. The money spent is for specific activity. Because just imagine, what if they incurred a loss in that venture? If things went bad, and in the process, we are not speaking about a profit. In the process, we are speaking about a loss. What would that scenario be? We would say, where did you get the authority? We would say, now that we are clapping, we've gotten the money. You know this habit of mommy coming back with meat, and I don't ask how you've gotten it. You have an obligation as legislators. That's why for me, I'm interested. We appropriate youth money based on output and activity. And we appropriate to you through Ministry of Finance for approved budget. They transfer to you money to do a specific activity, and that activity is within approved budget framework. In the Appropriation Act, this money features. Now for you in between there, let me use the word, diverted a bit of this money for some time and took it into an activity we did not approve. Did you in your framework at a planning level envisage to invest this money this way? And if you did you invest in? So I want you to know, as the discussion goes on, that in another committee and in this committee, you could have a legal problem. The other thing is, the board, has it gotten powers to allow you invest money in an activity which Parliament did not appropriate to? Because you are not running a private company. You know, when you are running a private company, these decisions in my private companies, I take them daily. Put money here, invest it here. It's mine. But this is public coffer appropriated to you by an act of Parliament. Can a board amend it? Even if you are going to earn from it.
Because I came in late, at the report writing, I will bring my issues on this query. Because once an Auditor General raises an audit query and it is reflected in his report, there's something wrong. Look at what he advised them as a recommendation. But because you have 1 hour today, I don't want. I came in late, but at the right time, Mr. Chairman, with their mandate and article. Sorry, Mr. Chairman. Whatever, the Act of 2013, I will give my issues on this query, and we shall mitigate, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
But I've not agreed by thanking them for making profits.
No, we are thanking them for disclosure.
Whatever.
At the right time, that if you had gotten crooked people, they would invest this money,
Exactly.
earn this money, eat it, buy off the auditors. We know how Uganda works.
Actually, it would have
And
been
they
more.
say we paid in ESCO. I mean, that's commendable.
Mr. Chairman, I also disagree
Chairman.
with that. Simply, this money was earned, put in their books, and found out by the auditor. It's in their books, so it's not a disclosure.
It's not a disclosure.
But I think what is important, Mr. Chairman, this is the company formed under the Companies Act 2012. Yes. And I think by guarantee or shares. So their performance or the way they do their business is different from the way government does business. So the moment they are given money as a subvention, then all the management is under their director. The decisions of their management is by the director.
You see, Honorable Taiba, why I wanted to stop you, and I'm hesitant members to volunteer explanation. Can you explain? You are into dire waters as a country. You now depend on even those books revenues can be worked on. And you put, what if you incurred a loss in that venture? What would happen?
Chair, there is no decision that we take that is not given to us by the board. And I said that the shareholders are responsible for the affairs of the company. They delegate the implementation of the purpose of the entity to the board of directors, which is appointed by His Excellency the President and is vetted by Parliament. Now, because we have a non-executive board that doesn't sit in the company on a day-to-day, they delegate some of their authority to the CEO for execution of the day-to-day running of the business. If we had done these things without support of the board, would be in deep trouble, because it is the controlling unit within the structures of the company. And that I had earlier submitted.
Can I guide and we proceed? The honorable colleagues, because of time, we have many entities. We have write a legal opinion explaining this, and our director and our legal officer, you are invited to interest yourself in this, and you will advise the committee. And so you write, but our department will also look at it. It will look even at your response, and then it will advise the committee to anchor it properly. And then moving forward, we are here to make sure things move better. Can we proceed, Honorable Colleague? By end of December, had you now consumed all the money?
So, Chair, the money for EcoPay.
No, it was not. It was not December, end of June.
No.
Of the financial year.
No, we hadn't.
You hadn't.
Yeah.
We reach at that level in this audit.
Chair, with due respect, even in that, how would it have?
I've been interacting with this thing for some time. It's under that sharing agreement, to put it mildly, not technical way, that in this annual budget, that was our obligation to meet. And you are asked money for that obligation, and you gave you the money. By end of June, you are still not meeting our agreement, in the sharing agreement, and there is money still invested somewhere, and it's making a profit. So what happens in the other year when you are requesting for example, in the next year, this running year, what did you go for the share that was in the other agreement that should have come that very year, or you now factor in your balances? Because we are capitalizing you as a country to meet our obligations. And you have the money. You run it your own way, the way Taiwan says. So we need to investigate all that. So you are going to supply us the balances that were on those accounts by that time.
Mr. Chairman,
and your actual expenditure over and above this money.
Mr.
Am
Chairman,
I right?
No, you are right. You have said coming. Absorption question will come in, and therefore, if that absorption is poor, if I may say, then it will affect your future financing.
No, what we want to say, to absorb it. So how does that affect? That's why I'm saying we need to navigate your board vis-a-vis
Somebody gets these monies under supplementary. I don't know why. Because you know you are tech. You normally get through supplementaries. And even the last allocation, this budget we have passed, it came through the agenda a day before the budget.
Which makes, when did you get this money? Which date did you get this money? Which month?
So, Chair, the 178 million.
June?
Yeah.
Oh, June of 2022.
Yes.
So it was towards the tail end
Yeah.
of the year.
Exactly.
Just so it ran you through the whole year of this financial year under audit. So you got it in June 2022. So you had it for 6 months. It started in what?
The money in June 2020.
Yes, they
before,
yeah, it got the
before
money
even the beginning of the financial.
before the beginning of the financial
That
year.
means that money they got for the other financial year, 2021, 2022.
That's why once that is the implication of that when you got the money, sir, is that it's not in the year under audit.
So, Chair, we can
No, just navigate that if you got it in June 2022, this year under audit is effective 1st July 2022, 2020, ending June 2023. So,
Chair,
which brings in invests in a lot of other issues. Which invests in a lot of other issues.
Their innovation may turn out to be a big problem.
Chair, there's no